In his first address to the United Nations General Assembly, President Biden said he will use relentless diplomacy, but failed to address criticism from America's allies about the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. Joining us right now, Florida Congressman Mike Waltz, and the first Green Beret to serve in Congress. Congressman Waltz, welcome back to the National Desk. Great to see you.
Yeah, good to be with you. Thank you.
President Biden really feeling the heat right now after his address to the UN. You know, Afghanistan's a mess. China and Russia emerging now in their influence. France recalled their ambassador, outraged over our nuclear deal with Australia. And former U.S. ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, posted this tweet, writing, quote, "China is running circles around us. Russia and Iran sense our weakness. Terrorists are gaining power, and our closest allies don't trust us. Just how exactly is America leading by the power of our example? With Joe Biden asleep at the switch, America's enemies rejoice." What's your thoughts on this, Congressman? How critical was it for President Biden to exemplify power, do you think, on the world stage?
Well, I think it would have been critical for him to do. Strength is what deters our enemies, and weakness invites their aggression. And right now, frankly, I think our enemies smell weakness in this White House, as exemplified by this absolute debacle in Afghanistan. I think it's hard to underestimate at this point how damaging this surrender and this withdrawal has been to our credibility. But I can tell you our allies in places like Taiwan, facing down the Communist Party of China, Ukraine facing down continued Russian aggression, are terrified. And they've received a message loud and clear from our adversaries that America was defeated. America can no longer stand with you. America is no longer a leader in the world. And meanwhile, we have a terrorist superstate in the Taliban, which equals Al-Qaeda, with its own army, air force, international airport, and if Biden continues down this road, a central bank with billions of dollars at their disposal. So we are in an incredibly perilous position.
Yeah, it's interesting because his over-the-horizon plan using drones at this point is going to be very difficult to sell to anyone, right? Because Congressman, on Friday, U.S. Central Command General Kenneth McKenzie acknowledged the U.S. drone strike near Kabul was a terrible mistake. 10 civilians killed in that, 7 children. From your experience as a Green Beret, someone who has served in Afghanistan, why do you think the Pentagon and the administration made those false claims when many reportedly knew this was a huge mistake from the get-go?
Well, I can tell you, I've had to call in these types of strikes. They are incredibly difficult and complex, particularly when you have active threat reporting of an impending suicide bomber. But 2 key things. One, we should have never been in Kabul International. We should have been at Bagram Air Base, about 30 kilometers to the north, easily defendable, much larger airfield. And we look in future hearings to get to the bottom of that decision. Those 13 Marines that died were in an indefensible, impossible position. Number one. Number two, I think there was a big rush to show action and to take action in the wake of that attack. And then finally, it does exemplify the problems with a drone-only over-the-horizon strategy. You have to have assets on the ground, human intelligence. You have to have sensors and signals intelligence. And when you bring all of those things together to check what that drone operator is seeing and to verify before you make a strike is critical. Well, we have none of those things on the ground. We're blind on the ground now, and I fear Al-Qaeda will come roaring back. The intelligence is clear that they intend to. And how bad will it get? Will there be another strike on the homeland before we're able to take action? And future American soldiers are going to have to go back to clean up this mess.
Is there any reason why we didn't keep Bagram Air Base open? Why? What would be the reasoning with having the airport open there in Kabul as opposed to the Bagram Air Base there? Why wouldn't we have just kept that open?
Well, what we know at this point is that the Pentagon was told you can only have 600 troops. President Biden was determined to get us out no matter what. He had his foot on the gas, regardless of the advice he received from the Pentagon or his advisors. He was determined to leave, period. And with only 600 troops, the military came back and said, well, we can't operate and hold this air base. And so they had to shut it down. And with that troop cap imposed on them by the White House, all they could do was try to defend our embassy and have a small presence at Kabul International.
Gotcha. Self-imposed.
Which, by the way, is in a city the size of 4 million people. It is surrounded and indefensible.
Very quickly, talk to us about what your concerns are with the future of the U.S. military as we move forward with this diplomacy first president, and what should we be doing to ensure our national security?
Well, diplomacy has to have a strong military, and it has to have a White House willing to use it in order to make our diplomacy effective. Right? That's the walk softly, but have a big stick. I think right now no one believes that President Biden will use that stick. Therefore, our diplomacy is going to be feckless. Remember, the same team that's around Biden was around Obama that led to Benghazi, the trade for Bergdahl, the pullout of Iraq that led to the rise of ISIS, the Iran deal. You can't appease our adversaries. You can't appease terrorists and continue to make concessions. They'll just continue to take advantage of you. And we're seeing that from China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and now, once again, a global terrorist threat.
Congressman Michael Waltz, it's always great to have you on the show and get your expertise and wisdom from someone who has served in Afghanistan. And we certainly appreciate your service to our country. Thank you for joining us here on the National Desk. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.